Kim's weary body jerked with surprise as she heard a persistent knock at her door. Curiosity consumed her thoughts, leaving her wondering about the identity of the unexpected visitor. The past week had been nothing short of a grueling ordeal at the factory, leaving her apartment in a perpetual state of disarray. She could hardly contain her joy when she stumbled upon the notice board's announcement of a week-long respite from work. However, the physical toll of sleepless nights still lingered, manifesting in the persistent ache in her back. Initially, Kim naively believed she could juggle two jobs simultaneously, desperately attempting to meet her mounting pile of bills. By day, she toiled as a teacher, while by night, she served as a biscuit factory worker. In her mind, weekends were supposed to be a period of rest and rejuvenation, providing her with enough energy to face each subsequent week. At first, this plan seemed feasible, but her health rapidly deteriorated, rendering her unable to endure such a punishing schedule. Ultimately, she had no choice but to bid farewell to her teaching job. Kim had toiled diligently at the school, receiving nothing more than a constantly delayed meager token of appreciation. It was during this time that her colleague, Tineke, came to her aid and introduced her to the biscuit factory. The pay at the factory was far more enticing and arrived every 2 weeks. Unlike her previous job, no need to waste my time at the school anymore. Kim thought to herself, I can utilize this free time to search for new opportunities while working at the factory. The only consolation she found in this decision was the ability to stretch out on her comfortable bed during the day, a welcome respite from the weariness that plagued her while teaching dozing off, while imparting knowledge to her pupils. Nevertheless, her days remained devoid of productivity, her body succumbing to exhaustion from the moment she returned home in the morning until evening, when she mustered the strength to prepare for another night shift at the factory. Finally, her luck had turned. This week granted her a rare reprieve, though it came at the cost of a lack of pay. Grumbling to herself about the disturbance during her much-needed time off, Kim maneuvered through her cluttered bedroom and the littered floor of her mini sitting room, making her way toward the door to address the incessant knocking. Just when I thought I could enjoy a little solitude during my free week, she muttered under her breath. Raising her voice, she called out, "Who is it?" A familiar female voice resonated from the other side, responding, "It's me, Hago." Kim couldn't help but suppress a quiet sigh of frustration, though she quickly adjusted her expression. With a broad smile, she unlocked the door and greeted her unexpected visitor. "Hey, Hago, it's great to see you," she said warmly. Spotting the luggage beside Hago, she inquired with concern, "What happened? Is everything all right?" "Oh, yes, everything's fine," Hago replied, her tone casual. "I just need a place to stay for a week. For just a week. Can't I enjoy some solitude during my much-needed break?" Kim's thoughts raced, momentarily perturbed. Collecting herself, she spoke, her words tinged with a hint of concern. "You should have called me beforehand to check if I'd be available or if there would be enough space to accommodate you." Pushing her bag past the threshold without invitation, Hago retorted, "I tried calling you a million times. Either your phone was switched off, or you weren't picking up. It's been all work lately," Kim explained wearily. "I barely have any time for myself. You're actually fortunate to have found me at home. What would you have done if I weren't here?" Hago chuckled and replied, "I would have simply fainted. Then your neighbors would have had to revive me with hot tea. Speaking of which, I'm famished. Kim, do you have anything to eat?" Kim sighed, her weariness palpable. "Unfortunately, there's nothing available, my dear," Kim replied with a hint of resignation. "These days, I've been surviving on the biscuits from the factory." "Wow, is it really that bad?" Hago asked, her tone laced with concern. Yes, it truly is, Kim confirmed, her voice tinged with weariness. The struggle has been real. Hago glanced around the apartment, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Its disarray apparent. Why does your apartment look so? Hago paused, searching for a sarcastic word. Perfect. She burst into laughter, knowing well that the reality was quite the opposite, dragging her tired feet to the only seat available in the cramped sitting room of her one-bedroom flat. Apart from the idle little dining set in the corner, a worn-out brown flower-patterned double-seater, Kim replied, a touch of self-deprecating humor in her voice. As I said, my life and schedule have been utterly crazy lately. I'll attend to the mess when I find the chance. But enough about me. Hago, how have you been? Hago joined her friend on the faded sofa, their bodies sinking into the tired cushions. She took a moment to compose herself before answering. Oh, not much happening. Really, Hago admitted. I managed to secure a job as a shop attendant at a boutique nearby. It's just to keep myself afloat. I was hoping I could stay with you for a week until I find a place of my own. A week? Kim raised an eyebrow and pursed her lips in mild skepticism. Just a week, huh? Hago nodded earnestly, her eyes filled with hopeful sincerity. I promise, Kim, only a week. I truly need your help. Relaxing her posture and exhaling deeply, Kim leaned back against the worn-out cushions. How I wish I had a rich boyfriend. She mused aloud, a tinge of longing in her voice. Me too, Hago chimed in, her voice tinged with a hint of regret. I can't believe I'm still in this situation at this point in my life. Kim chuckled softly. I remember your grand plan back in the day. You wanted to marry a wealthy man and become a chief madam. You had your eyes set on Raymond. That arrogant brat? Poor Chukwudi never stood a chance with you. Hago sighed with a mix of nostalgia and regret washing over her as she reminisced. Oh, what a life of blissful ignorance. If only I could have seen the future. Chukwudi is dining with the big shots now. Kim nodded in agreement. Chukwudi has carved out his own success and is happily married to Ada. Yes, Ada, the same woman you used to pick on. Funny how life turns out, isn't it? Kim turned to face Hago, her eyes filled with curiosity. Speaking of Ada, if you were in her shoes, married to a wealthy man, would you not have forgotten about me? Ego protested vehemently. That's not true. Kim, I could never abandon my best friend. Kim's expression softened, and she offered a small smile. Well, Ada still reaches out to me often. In fact, she invited me to her son's 5th birthday celebration. It's tomorrow. Perfect. We can go together, Hago suggested with a glimmer of excitement in her eyes. Kim furrowed her brows, a hint of skepticism evident. How? You and Ada haven't exactly been on good terms lately, have you? Besides, aren't you supposed to be starting your new job? Hago's face fell, realizing the complications of her suggestion. You're right. I guess I messed up a lot of things. Who would have thought that? Ada would be doing so well while I'm still struggling. Kim gave Hago a knowing side-eye and then turned back to her thoughts. Well, anyways, you can take your belongings into the room and place them beside the wardrobe. And if you don't mind, could you fix some eba for us in the kitchen? Just please don't burn up the little stew I have left. Kim warned with a half-teasing tone. Hago playfully rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, Kim, I'm not that terrible of a cook. As Hago made her way to the room, dragging her suitcase behind her, Kim couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. She was grateful for her friend's company. Despite the unexpected intrusion on her much-needed break, the two of them had been through thick and thin together, their shared journey filled with dreams, setbacks, and the realities of life. As she leaned back against the worn-out sofa, Kim couldn't help but wonder what the future held for both of them. The struggles, the dreams, and the pursuit of a better life seemed intertwined with their friendship. They had weathered storms before, and perhaps, with their unwavering support for each other, they could still find a way to navigate the challenges that lay ahead. And so, with a hint of exhaustion, yet a glimmer of hope, Kim closed her eyes momentarily, envisioning the adventures, conversations, and unexpected twists that awaited them during this eventful week together. 3 days had passed since Haego's arrival, marking the beginning of Kim's break from work. The two women had embarked on a rigorous cleaning spree within the apartment, tackling every nook and cranny. They diligently cleared dirt, dusted and wiped surfaces, mopped the floors, and meticulously arranged everything to perfection. What's the occasion? This sudden house cleaning is not my thing, Haego complained, raising an eyebrow in disbelief. She's Haego, not particularly thrilled with the sudden burst of cleaning activity. Especially as it involves her, it's just the right thing to do. Kim, focused on the task at hand, explained, her voice laced with determination. We need to put this place in order. Teasingly, Haego retorted, since when did you stumble upon this revelation? This space has been neglected for too long. It's about time it is fixed. Kim replied with determination. As the two ladies continued their cleaning, a knock echoed through the apartment from the front door. Kim paused and hurriedly dropped the napkin she was using to attend to the visitor at the door. She swung it open to reveal a man dressed in a red shirt and black trousers, holding packages. Delicious catering at your service, ma'am, he greeted. Kim smiled warmly, accepting the packages and paying the delivery man before closing the door. Haego's grumbles swiftly transformed into excitement as she caught sight of the sumptuous meals. Kim had just received her payment from the biscuit factory, and while Haego remained unconcerned about the economic prudence of the meal order, or the reason for celebration, her appetite had sparked to life. She had already begun fantasizing about indulging in the delicious feast. Haego had settled comfortably into Kim's cozy apartment, making herself at home. The previous day, Kim had returned from the birthday party with no edibles, regaling Ego with tales of the grandeur and opulence of Oda's house. She mentioned how Chukwudi, Oda's husband, couldn't attend the party due to a business trip. Kim enthusiastically shared her newfound friendships from the event, including a certain Haebuka, who had kindly dropped her off after the festivities since he lived nearby. Suddenly, it struck Haego, are we expecting Haebuka? Of course. Kim replied excitedly, handing the packages over to Haego. Kindly transfer these meals to proper dishes. With that, she dashed off to her room to freshen up. An hour later, with their tasks completed, Haego lounged on the couch, engrossed in a stale-style magazine. The sound of a knock at the door reached her ears, signaling Haebuka's arrival. She sprang up, making her way to the door. Standing before her was a handsome gentleman in a well-fitted, blue checked shirt and trousers. His appearance exuded confidence and financial stability. Haego's mind raced with thoughts of wealth and the possibility of finally landing a rich boyfriend. He looked like he had it all together. Is this Kim's residence, please? He inquired politely. Snapping out of her daydream, Ego replied with a sweet smile. Yes, please, come in. You must be Ebuka. Yes, ma'am, he confirmed. And you are. I'm Haego, Kim's friend. She introduced herself with a smile. It's nice to meet you. The sound of their voices reached Kim's ears, prompting her to step out from her room, elegantly dressed in a flowing flowery chiffon dress. Hi, Haebuka. It's good to have you here. Come on in, she said, extending a welcoming gesture. Haebuka entered the apartment as Haego dashed off to the kitchen to handle the meals that had been delivered by the food vendor. What a lovely place you have here, Haebuka complimented. Feeling a hint of shyness, Kim responded modestly, "Oh, stop with the flattery. I'm sure your place is even better. Let me show you to the dining area." She gestured for him to follow her toward a small dining table surrounded by 4 chairs. "Let me get you something nice to drink." Kim made her way to the kitchen to join her friend, while Heibuka pulled out a chair for himself. Kim returned with a tray holding a jug of juice and 3 glass cups, while Heigo arrived with the trays of meals and dishes. "Wow, my first visit turns into a feast," Heibuka exclaimed, his eyes lighting up with anticipation. "Kim, did I mention how stunning you look?" Blushing ever so slightly, Kim replied, "You're not looking to bad yourself, Heibuka. By the way, I haven't formally introduced you to my friend, Heigo." The 2 ladies took their seats at the dining table, placing the trays in front of them. "We've been friends since our university days." Heibuka chuckled with a touch of masculine charm. We've already become acquainted in a way before you showed up from the room." Kim laughed, catching on to the hint of familiarity. Heigo, serving the meal with a mixture of courtesy and a sheepish smile, would occasionally brush her hand through her hair as she inquired about each person's preferred portion. She served herself last and joined in the feast. As they savored the delicious flavors, Heibuka couldn't help but express his delight. "This meal is absolutely incredible," he remarked, pausing between bites. In unison, both ladies responded, "Thank you." Their voices blended harmoniously. Kim glanced at Heigo with curious eyes, while Heigo simply shrugged, seemingly unaffected by Kim's reaction. Impressed by the culinary skills on display, Heibuka commented, "This cook must be the epitome of an ideal wife. A true wife material." The ladies blushed adorably, their voices intertwining in a sweet chorus of awe. Eager to learn more about Heigo, Heibuka turned his attention to her. "So, I'd love to know more about you and what you do for a living." Heigo, unable to contain her excitement, lost her composure and began pouring out her words uncontrollably. "Actually, I don't stay here. I have a boutique nearby, so I usually live there. I decided to spend the week with my friend, only for her to put me through this extensive house cleaning this morning." Interrupting her, Kim made a sudden choking sound, shooting Heigo a sharp gaze, silently urging her to regain composure. Heigo had spoken too much, too quickly. Curious, Heibuka turned to Kim and asked, "Why didn't you bring her along to the birthday party?" In gentle self-defense, Kim replied, "You know, a person with good business sense shouldn't leave their store unattended." Heibuka countered, "Come on now, a little break from your fashion store wouldn't hurt." Heigo blushed intensely, realizing she was close to digging herself into a hole. She remained silent, aware that her chances with Heibuka might dwindle with her fabricated details about owning a boutique. She cared less anyways. She needed to prove she is a lady of his caliber. The trio continued their conversation, sharing laughter and enjoying each other's company long after the meal had been devoured. Finally, a couple of hours later, as the night began to settle, Heibuka rose from his seat, expressing his gratitude for the delightful time spent with the ladies. "It's been such a pleasure being here with you," Heibuka said warmly. "Kim, thank you for your hospitality." "Heigo, it was lovely getting to know you better." Heigo smiled. She began to hope for a better chance to impress Heibuka more with her imagined lifestyle. As she watched Kim walk Heibuka to his car parked within the compound, she couldn't help but think, what a beautiful day to be alive. A day passed, and Heibuka maintained communication with Kim through text messages. Kim expressed her desire for a better work opportunity, and to her surprise, Heibuka mentioned an open position at his company. He assured her that he would assist in securing the position. In the midst of their conversation, Heibuka chimed in, "How is our great cook? Her meals were so delicious." Curious, Kim responded, "Who are you referring to?" "Heigo, of course," Heibuka replied. Kim couldn't help but conceal a smirk as she responded, "Oh, did she tell you she cooked the meals?" "Yes, she did," Heibuka confirmed. Not wanting to expose Heigo's lies, Kim responded with a hint of sarcasm. Yes. She's incredibly passionate about cooking. You should ask her for the recipes. But don't mention to her that we had this conversation." "Sure," Heibuka agreed, sensing the underlying message in Kim's words. "Thanks," Kim said, her worry for Heigo growing. She couldn't help but feel concerned for Heigo's tendency to sabotage her own chances with her false narratives. She wished her friend could break free from her web of falsehoods, as her charm and attractiveness were overshadowed by her inability to live an authentic life. Heigo's attractive qualities keep getting messed up by her penchant for living a fake life and lack of coordination. Kim yearned to find a way to help Heigo change, but she knew it was ultimately up to Heigo herself. 2 days later, Heibuka arrived at the apartment with numerous bags of groceries. Heigo was the first to welcome him, her voice filled with sweetness. "It's so nice to see you again, Heibuka." Kim, filled with excitement, rushed out of her room, exclaiming, "Yay, he's here." She eagerly helped receive the bags of groceries. "Wow, this is a lot. What's the occasion?" Still caught up in her dreamy thoughts, Heigo added, "So many bags. Wow, this is so thoughtful of you. You bought so many groceries for us." With a smile, Heibuka responded, "Of course. I bought all the necessary ingredients for that amazing meal you cooked and much more. I forgot to mention that I love to cook too, and I would love to learn from you. It would be fun, don't you think?" Kim chimed in. "Yes, it will be great fun," agreeing with a genuine smile. However, Heigo began to fidget, feeling the weight of her lies bearing down on her. "Actually," she stammered, "you see, that day after I finished cooking, the gas cooker developed a fault due to the extensive cooking, and we haven't had a chance to repair it yet." Kim headed to the kitchen, leaving Heigo in a state of heightened tension. "What's up, babe? Why are you going to the kitchen?" Heigo asked, trying to divert Kim's attention. "Just a moment," Kim replied. Sounds of metal clashed, rushing water, and a click followed by a mild boom whoosh emanated from the kitchen. Kim returned to join the two in the living room. "The cooker is working perfectly fine. I just put water on to boil for you." Heigo fidgeted uncomfortably, desperately clinging to her lies. "It will soon go down. We're actually out of gas," she said, facing Kim. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you earlier," she added, continuing her fabrication. But Kim remained composed, her eyes filled with both amusement and concern. Unfazed, she responded calmly, "Don't worry, I bought a full gas cylinder yesterday. It was sponsored by Heibuka." Heigo's heart sank even further as her web of lies unraveled before her. Heigo knew deep down that she couldn't cook to save her life. On the day she arrived at Kim's place, she had struggled to get the right proportions of boiled water and gari to make a simple eba. The resulting dish had been far from satisfactory, but Kim had joined her in eating it out of love and hunger. Realizing her chances with Heibuka were dwindling, Heigo nervously scratched her head. "Aha, really?" she managed to say, attempting to regain some composure. Heibuka, sensing the awkwardness, added, "Anyways, Ada sends her regards to you, Heigo. She's my cousin, and she told me a lot of good things about you." Heigo was taken aback, feeling a surge of embarrassment wash over her. She realized that her chances with Heibuka had dwindled to nothing, and his gentle sarcasm had confirmed it. With a heavy heart, while sitting down and looking away, Heigo mustered a smile. "It's nice to hear that Ada spoke well of me," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. She knew that her dishonesty and treacherous actions towards Nkem had cost her the opportunity for a genuine connection. Heibuka continued, undeterred by Heigo's uncomfortable state. And, by the way, I didn't realize you were acquainted with Mrs. Oiwole to that extent. I saw you opening her boutique for business yesterday morning. I asked her about you, and she spoke highly of you. Heigo's face turned beet red, her embarrassment reaching its peak. She had woven a web of lies that was now unraveling before her very eyes. Mrs. Oiwole is her boss and the boutique owner. Heigo's chances with Heibuka had evaporated, and she felt a deep sense of regret for the false image she had projected. As the awkward silence hung in the air, Heibuka politely excused himself and turned to Heigo. "It was nice getting to know you, Heigo," he said politely. "Take care." Heigo nodded. Her disappointment was evident in her eyes. "Thank you," she murmured softly. As the door closed behind Heibuka, Nkem walked over to Heigo, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "It's all right, Heigo," she said gently. "Authenticity is always better than living a lie. Maybe this will be a chance for you to reflect and make positive changes." Heigo sighed, her shoulders slumping. "You're right." Nkem and Heigo were left to confront the aftermath of the shattered illusions, and the need for Heigo to confront her own demons. Ruminating on the whole incident and Heibuka's connection with Ada, Heigo hissed and walked away in indifference. "The boy is not even fine," she called out. "I'm going over to my aunt's place tomorrow morning," she added.